Nationalism is a belief or the feeling of the people of a certain country trying to be more aware of their own identity and ethnicity, and in the search of something better for the country and its people.
Polish nationalism can be tracked since 1772 because at that time there was no Polish state. Poland was taken by Austria, Prussia, and Russia. However, the Poles kept fighting to gain their independence back. A few years later, in 1893, occurred the first movement led by Roman Dmowski, who is considered the founder of modern Polish nationalism. He renamed the Polish League as the National League and spread the word that Poland had to be a strong nation because of its geographic situation. Also, he gave an impulse to the Roman Catholic religion as the true one. But it wasn't until 1918 that the country became independent with Marshal Joseph Pilsudski as chief of state.
Everything was relatively calm until September 1st, 1939, when Nazi Germany, directed by Adolf Hitler, invades Poland from the west, and the Soviet Union invades from the east. Germany and the Soviet Union divide Poland between them and treat Polish citizens with extreme brutality. Germany begins systematic persecution of the large Jewish population in Poland, and the Stalin secret police carry out systematic massacre of about 22,000 Polish army officers, professionals, and civil servants, mainly in a forest near Katyn in Russia's Smolensk region, also known in the Katyn massacre. The Soviet Union attributed the crime to the Nazis until acknowledging responsibility in the late 1980s.
During 1941, Germans started to build concentration camps in Poland. Their names, Auschwitz, Treblinka, Madnek, become synonymous with the Holocaust. In 1943, Warsaw Ghetto uprising against German attempts to transfer the remaining Jewish inhabitants to concentration camps. Resistance lasted nearly 4 weeks before the ghetto was burned down. The Germans announced the capture of more than 50,000 Jews. 1944, Polish resistance forces take ground of Warsaw in August. The Germans recaptured the city in October and burned it to the ground. The purpose of Nazi Germany occupation in Poland was to eliminate Polish culture through mass executions in order to exterminate most Jews in the country.
1945, Soviet forces capture Warsaw in January. All German forces are driven from Poland by March. Poland becomes a communist country because it is highly influenced by the Soviet Union. After the war, Poland's borders are set up by the post-war Potsdam Conference, in which President Harry S. Truman, Joseph Stalin, and Prime Minister Britain established a new western frontier for Poland, which loses territory to the Soviet Union but gains some from Germany. Polish people were afraid of communism because they know that it was strongly linked to Russia, and they fear of Russian dominance as well as losing more part of its territory. They didn't trust in what the Communist Party offered. The majority of the people only wanted to avoid Soviet domination in form of independence from the USSR, as well as recovering the ancient Polish lands. This is the beginning of the second major nationalistic movement, when in 1956, Władysław Gomulka, who was a liberal communist leader, takes over during the October Revolt. More than 50 people killed in rioting in Poznan over demands for great freedom. Along with many intellectuals and scholars, they started an open criticism against the Soviet pattern, Stalin, and the real needs of Poles. After the death of Stalin, the return of Gomulka to power, and the support of the Soviet Union against West Germany that refuses to accept the western border of Poland along the Oder and the Nis rivers, Polish citizens were more comfortable with the communist regime. 1970, food price riots in Gdansk. The protests are suppressed, hundreds are killed, and Edward Gierek becomes party leader. Poland enjoys relative economic prosperity based on foreign loans. Successive U.S. presidents Nixon, Ford, and Carter visit Poland. 1978, Karol Wojtyla, Cardinal of Krakow, elected Pope. 1980, disturbances at the shipyard in Gdansk led to the emergence of the Solidarity trade union under Lech Walesa. Workers wanted more liberty and better work conditions. This Solidarity movement started some changes that led to the collapse of the communist system. In 1989, Poland becomes again an independent country, with election of a non-communist government. Since then, a very strong and non-tolerant Polish nationalism has increased enormously among its people based on beliefs that God is the most important thing. The good of the nation has to be the main goal of the people, the rejection of capitalism and communism, and a strong anti Semitism. All Polish youth since 1989 on the 1920s was in charge of economic boycott of Jews and limiting their access of education. National Radical Camp or ONR 1930s attacks on communists and Jews. National Rebirth of Poland NOP strong homophobic national movement RN coalition of many small organizations. Anti-communism emphasized historical militarism and war. Poland's foreign policy is very sensitive to the facts of its geographic position because it is squeezed between Germany and Russia, with no natural borders to protect her, repeatedly threatened by powerful neighbors. As we could infer from history, Polish always battled to preserve at least their national identity, despite having lost their state on many occasions, and that caused a strong nationalism that tries to fight everything that may threaten its national identity. However, sometimes it is on expense of the individual rights of freedom of the people, and they are not very tolerant of differences as we could perceive from the movement that exists nowadays.